The gym I worked at never actually closed. It was one of those 24-hour membership gyms on the edge of Phoenix, the kind people used when they didn't want crowds or noise. During the day it was busy. Trainers shouting. Music playing. Treadmills lined with people watching TV. But after midnight it turned into something completely different. Quiet. Most nights between 12 a.m. and 4 a.m., maybe 2 or 3 members came in. Truck drivers passing through town. Insomniacs. A few people who preferred working out alone. I handled the overnight desk shift. Check memberships. Watch the cameras. Clean equipment. That was it. The gym had one rule about late-night access. Every member had to scan their keycard at the entrance. The system logged every entry automatically. So when the system beeped at 12:14 a.m., I barely looked up. Just another member. The glass door slid open, but no one walked inside. I waited. Still no one. I leaned forward and looked through the front windows. The parking lot was empty. The doors slowly closed again. I checked the computer. The system had logged a check-in. Member ID 87241. I pulled up the profile. Name Aaron Keats. Status active member. Nothing unusual. Maybe he opened the door and stepped back outside. That happens sometimes. Still, it was strange that I hadn't seen anyone. I checked the entrance camera. The footage showed the front doors opening, exactly like I remembered, but the camera showed something else too. The keycard scanner light turned green, which meant someone had scanned a card, but no one was standing there. The door simply opened, then closed. I replayed it 3 times. Same result. I checked the parking lot cameras. Empty. No cars had pulled in. I shrugged it off. Probably a system glitch. The building was old. The scanner sometimes malfunctioned during temperature changes. I logged it and went back to wiping down the front counter. About 15 minutes later, the treadmill section lights flickered once. That part of the gym sat about 40 feet from the desk. A row of 8 treadmills, all facing a wall of mirrors and mounted televisions. No one was using them. But the first treadmill powered on. The screen lit up. Then the belt started moving slowly. I stared at it. The start button had clearly been pressed. But the area was empty. I stood up and walked over. The treadmill display showed speed 2.0, walking pace, like someone had just stepped on. I looked around. No one. The mirrors reflected the empty room behind me. I stopped the machine and walked back to the desk. It was probably a power fluctuation. Old machines did weird things sometimes. I checked the member check-in system again. Only one entry. Aaron Keats. 12:14 a.m. But the building had 4 cameras covering the gym floor, and none of them showed anyone inside. At 12:39 a.m., the system beeped again. Another check-in. Same ID. Aaron Keats. I frowned. Members couldn't check in twice without leaving first. But the door hadn't opened again. I pulled up the entrance camera. The scanner light turned green again, but the door stayed closed. No one outside. No one inside. Just the scanner activating by itself. I rewound the footage. Something about the reflection caught my attention. The scanner was mounted next to the glass door. When it lit up green, the glass reflected the interior lights. And for just one frame, I thought I saw movement, like someone standing in front of the scanner. But the image was too distorted to tell. At 12:52 a.m., the locker room hallway motion sensor triggered. That definitely got my attention. The gym had 2 locker rooms, one for men and one for women. Both were supposed to be empty overnight unless someone checked in. The motion sensor meant someone had walked through the hallway. I checked the camera. The hallway looked empty, but the men's locker room door was slightly open. That door had been closed earlier. I walked over slowly. The hallway lights hummed quietly above me. The gym floor behind me was silent. I pushed the locker room door open. The room was empty. Rows of metal lockers, benches, showers at the far end. No one there. But the air felt warmer than the rest of the gym, like someone had just taken a hot shower. I walked back to the desk. Then the treadmill started again. Same one. The first machine in the row. The belt moved slowly. 2.0 speed again. I didn't walk over this time. Instead, I checked the camera. The treadmill screen clearly showed it running, but the machine's weight sensor was active, meaning someone was standing on it. Yet the camera showed an empty treadmill. I zoomed in. Nothing. Just the belt moving. Then the speed increased. 3.5. Jogging pace. The machine began to thump softly against the floor, like someone had started running. The weight sensor stayed active. The machine thought someone was using it, but the camera still showed nothing. I shut the treadmill off from the wall switch. The belt stopped. I looked at the check-in system again. Now it showed something new. Active members inside. 1. But the gym was clearly empty. I opened the profile for Aaron Keats again. Something about it was different now. The membership start date read January 2012. The gym had only opened in 2016, which meant the membership existed 4 years before the building was even built. I frowned. That made no sense. I checked the rest of the profile. Emergency contact, blank. Address, blank. Phone number, blank. Just the name. Aaron Keats. Then the locker room motion sensor triggered again. This time I didn't go check. Instead I watched the hallway camera. The door to the men's locker room slowly moved. Just a few inches. Like someone had pushed it open from the inside. But no one stepped out. The door stayed half open. Then the treadmill started again. This time a different one. The third treadmill. Speed, 5.0. Running pace. The belt moved faster. Heavy footsteps thumped through the machine. The weight sensor showed 185 pounds. Someone was clearly using it, but no one was visible. The mirror wall reflected the treadmill. Still empty. Then something else happened. The TV above the treadmill turned on. Static filled the screen. The volume slowly increased. I walked toward the machines again. The static sound echoed across the quiet gym. Then the TV picture changed. Instead of static, it showed camera footage. Black and white footage. Security footage. Of the same gym. But it looked different. Older. The equipment was different. Different layout. I stared at the screen. Then I noticed the timestamp in the corner. March 3, 2012. 4 years before the building opened. And on the screen, a man was running on a treadmill. Same treadmill number. Number 3. The camera angle was exactly the same as the one above me. The man kept running. He looked exhausted. Sweat soaked through his shirt. Then he suddenly stopped. Looked behind him. Like someone had called his name. The man stepped off the treadmill and walked out of frame. The footage ended. The TV went black. And the treadmill in front of me stopped. At the same moment, the check-in system beeped again. But this time it showed something new. Member checked out. Aaron Keats. 1:11 a.m. I checked the entrance camera. The door opened. But again, no one walked out. Just the door slowly opening into the empty parking lot. Then closing. The gym returned to silence. The treadmill shut down. The locker room door was closed again. Everything looked normal. At 4:30 a.m., the morning manager arrived. I told him about the system glitches. He checked the membership database. And that's when he found something strange. Aaron Keats had never been a member. Not in 2012. Not in 2016. Not ever. The name didn't exist in the official records. But the security system still showed the check-in. We searched the internet for the name anyway. Eventually we found something. A local news article. From March 2012. About a man who collapsed while jogging late at night in a temporary gym facility that used to sit on that property. The article said the man had been exercising alone after midnight. The staff found him in the morning. His name was Aaron Keats. And the strange part was this. According to the article, the treadmill he collapsed on was machine number 3. The exact one that started running by itself that night. After that shift, the system logs were cleared. The membership entry disappeared. But every once in a while, usually sometime after midnight, one treadmill in the empty gym still powers on by itself. And the check-in system briefly shows one active member inside. Even though the building is completely empty, the name that appears is always the same. Aaron Keats. And no one has ever explained why the system still recognizes a membership that was never created. The gym where this happened sat inside a large office complex in Denver. During the day it was crowded with employees from nearby buildings, but after midnight it turned into one of the quietest places in the entire city. I worked the overnight desk shift 3 nights a week. From 12 a.m. to 5 a.m., my job was mostly watching cameras, checking memberships, and cleaning equipment. Most nights, maybe 2 or 3 people came in. sometimes no one. The building itself stayed open 24 hours because a few companies upstairs ran overnight operations. But the gym floor and locker rooms were supposed to be empty after midnight unless someone checked in. Everything was tracked by the system. Every member had a key card. Scan the card. Door unlocks. Entry gets logged. Simple. So when I heard a locker slam shut at 12:22 a.m., I assumed someone had come in without me noticing. The sound came from the men's locker room hallway behind the desk. Metal lockers make a very specific noise when they close. Loud. Hollow. I looked up from the computer. The entrance doors were closed. The parking lot outside was empty. No cars had pulled in for at least 20 minutes. I checked the system. No one had checked in. That didn't make sense. The locker rooms were only accessible after scanning a membership card at the front desk. I stood up and walked toward the hallway. "Hello?" I called. No answer. The hallway lights hummed quietly above me. The locker room door was slightly open. I pushed it the rest of the way. Inside, the room looked exactly how I'd left it an hour earlier. Empty benches. Rows of gray metal lockers. Mirrors above the sinks. No one there. But one locker door was open. Locker 117. I walked over and looked inside. Completely empty. I closed the locker and walked back to the desk. Probably the air system. Old buildings sometimes shift at night. Metal lockers don't just slam by themselves. I sat back down and checked the membership log again. Still empty. Then the computer beeped. But it wasn't a check-in alert. It was the locker assignment system. Members could temporarily assign themselves lockers using the touchscreen near the entrance. The screen now showed Locker 117. Assigned. Member ID, unknown. I stared at it. That was the same locker I had just closed. And the system shouldn't assign lockers without a check-in first. I checked the entrance camera again. Nothing. The door had not opened. The parking lot camera still showed an empty lot. Then the locker slammed again. Same sound. Metal hitting metal. Loud enough that it echoed down the hallway. I looked at the camera covering the locker room hallway. The door to the locker room slowly moved, like someone inside had pushed it open. But no one stepped out. The door stopped halfway. I walked back down the hallway. The locker room felt warmer this time. And locker 117 was open again. The door swung slightly as if someone had just stepped away from it. I looked inside. Still empty. But there was something new. A black gym bag sitting on the bench below the locker. I hadn't seen that before. I was sure of it. The bag looked old. Worn canvas. One strap torn slightly. No brand name. I stood there for a few seconds trying to remember if anyone had left something earlier in the evening. But I always cleared the locker room before midnight. There had been no bags anywhere. I walked back to the desk and checked the system again. Locker 117. Assigned. Member ID now displayed a number. Number 30488. I opened the profile. Name, David Nolan. Status, inactive. Membership ended, 2019. I frowned. Inactive members couldn't access the locker system. I checked the entrance log again. No entry. Then something changed on the screen. Under the locker assignment, a timer appeared. Occupancy duration, 3 minutes and 12 seconds. The system thought someone had been using that locker for over 3 minutes. But no one had checked in. And I had just been standing in front of the locker. Alone. I switched to the locker room camera. It didn't show the lockers directly for privacy reasons, but it showed the entrance area and benches. The camera showed the gym bag sitting there. Exactly where I had seen it. But then I noticed something. The bag moved. Not much. Just a small shift. Like someone had nudged it with their foot. I stared at the screen. The bench was empty. But the bag moved again. Just slightly. Then it stopped. I went back down the hallway. The bag was still on the bench. Locker 117 still open. I slowly unzipped the bag. Inside were a pair of running shoes, a towel, and a plastic water bottle. Everything looked normal. Except the towel was damp. Recently used. And the water bottle was half empty. Like someone had just finished a workout. Then I heard footsteps. Very soft. Coming from the shower area at the back of the locker room. Slow. Wet footsteps. I walked toward the showers. The tile floor was dry. The lights were on. Every shower stall was empty. But one shower was still dripping. Water slowly tapping against the floor drain. Then the locker slammed again behind me. I turned around quickly. Locker 117 had just shut. I walked back over. The locker door was now closed. The bag was gone. The bench was empty again. I checked inside the locker. Nothing there. No bag. No shoes. No towel. The locker was completely empty. I walked back to the desk slowly. The system timer was still running. Occupancy duration, 11 minutes and 4 seconds. Then the timer stopped. The screen updated. Locker 117, released. Member ID, number 30488. Time released, 12:41 a.m. At the exact same moment, the entrance door opened. I looked up. The door slowly slid open. Cold air from outside drifted into the lobby. But no one walked through. The parking lot was still empty. Then the door closed again. I checked the check-in system. Still no entries. Just the locker record. I searched the name again. David Nolan. Eventually I found an old article. A local news report from 2019. About a man who had been found unconscious inside a gym locker room after working out late at night. The gym had closed hours earlier. Staff discovered him the next morning. He had been using locker 117. The article included a photo of the gym interior. Not this gym, but the building. Before the company renovated the entire place. And the strange part was this. The locker room layout in the photo looked identical. Same benches. Same lockers. Same locker number. Even though our locker room had been installed 2 years after the renovation. Which meant the locker numbers didn't exist before that. After that night, the locker system kept working normally. But sometimes after midnight, locker 117 assigns itself again. No member ID. No check-in. Just the system showing that the locker is occupied. For about 20 minutes. And the strange part is this. If you check the locker room camera during that time, there's always a gym bag sitting on the bench. But whenever someone walks down the hallway to check, the bench is empty. The gym sat on the second floor of a small shopping plaza outside Cleveland. It wasn't a big franchise gym. Just a local 24-hour place with about 30 machines, a small weight area, and a row of treadmills facing the windows that overlooked the empty parking lot. I worked the midnight shift there for about 8 months. Most nights were predictable. After midnight, maybe 1 or 2 people would come in. Sometimes none. The rest of the time I cleaned equipment, restocked towels, and watched the cameras behind the front desk. But the gym had one feature that most people never used. You could reserve machines through the gym app. Members could open the app and book a treadmill or bike for a specific time so no one else would take it when they arrived. The system synced with the front desk computer. When a reservation started, the machine screen would display the member's name. It was mostly used during the daytime rush. At 12:06 a.m. on a Tuesday night, the reservation system made a sound. Just a soft notification. I glanced at the screen. Machine reservation created. Machine treadmill 6. Time, 12:30 a.m. Member, Evan Porter. That wasn't unusual. Except for one thing. The gym was empty. I could see the entire treadmill row from the desk. All 8 machines were dark and unused. I checked the parking lot camera. No cars. Maybe someone planned to arrive later. I ignored it and kept wiping down the front counter. About 20 minutes passed. At 12:30 a.m., the treadmill display lit up automatically. A blue message appeared on the screen. Reserved, Evan Porter. The machine powered on. The belt began moving slowly. Speed, 2.5. Walking pace. I looked up from the desk. No one was on it. The treadmill continued moving for about 10 seconds. Then it stopped. Reservation complete. I checked the reservation log. The system showed the session had ended normally. Duration, 12 seconds. Which meant the treadmill believed someone had stepped on it. Because treadmills automatically end reservations if no one starts using them. But that machine had clearly started running. I checked the camera. The footage showed the treadmill turning on. But the machine was empty. No one standing there. I replayed it. Still empty. Then the system beeped again. Another reservation. Same treadmill. Treadmill 6 reserved. Time, 12:48 a.m. Member, Evan Porter. I frowned. Members usually didn't make 2 reservations back-to-back like that. Especially at midnight. Still, maybe someone was driving to the gym. At 12:48, the treadmill screen lit up again. Same message. Reserved, Evan Porter. The belt started moving again. Speed 3.0. Walking pace. I walked closer this time. The belt moved smoothly under the lights. But the treadmill's weight sensor was active, meaning the machine believed someone was standing on it. Yet the treadmill was empty. I leaned over and pressed the stop button. The machine stopped immediately. I walked back to the desk and opened the reservation profile. Member, Evan Porter. Status, inactive. Membership ended, 2021. That was strange. Inactive members couldn't make reservations. I opened the account. The profile photo was missing. Address field blank. Phone number blank. The only thing listed was the join date, February 2018. And the last activity, October 21st, 2021. I checked the entrance logs. No one named Evan Porter had checked in that night. In fact, no one had checked in for over an hour. Then the treadmill started again. Same one. Number 6. The belt slowly began moving. Speed 4.0. Jogging pace now. The weight sensor showed 176 pounds. The machine was clearly registering a runner. But the treadmill was completely empty. The mirrors behind the machines reflected the entire gym. Still no one. I walked over and shut the machine off again. Then the computer beeped. Another reservation. This time the time slot read 1:05 a.m. Same treadmill. Same member. Evan Porter. I searched the name online. It took a minute, but eventually I found something. A local news article from 2021. The headline read, "Man found dead inside 24-hour gym after midnight workout." The article explained that a man named Evan Porter had collapsed while running on a treadmill late at night. Staff discovered him early the next morning. The article didn't mention which treadmill, but the photo attached to the article showed the inside of the gym. Not this gym exactly, but the layout looked very similar. Same row of machines, same window view, and the treadmill in the photo had a number sticker on the front. So I leaned back in the chair. At 1:05 a.m., the treadmill turned on again. Speed 5.5. Running pace. The machine shook slightly under the weight of someone running. Heavy footsteps thumped against the belt. The display showed distance, 0.03 miles. The number slowly increased. 0.04, 0.05, 0.06, like someone was actually jogging. I checked the camera again. The treadmill was empty, but the belt kept moving. Then the mirrors reflected something strange. Not a person, but the indentation on the belt, like footsteps pressing down. Left, right, as if someone invisible was running. Then the speed increased, 7.0. The treadmill motor whined louder. The belt moved faster. The footsteps became heavier. 0.12 miles, 0.16 miles, 0.21 miles. Then suddenly the treadmill stopped. The display flashed. Workout complete. Time, 11 minutes and 43 seconds. Calories, 96. The screen returned to standby mode. I checked the reservation log again. The entry had been recorded. Workout finished normally. Member, Evan Porter. Then the front entrance door opened. The glass doors slowly slid apart. Cold air from outside drifted into the gym. I stood up. No one walked in. No one walked out. The parking lot was completely empty. The doors closed again. I looked back at the treadmill row. Machine number 6 was dark again. The belt completely still. Everything looked normal. The rest of the night passed quietly. At 5 a.m., the morning manager arrived. I showed him the reservation logs. But something strange had happened. The entries were gone. No reservations. No workouts. No member named Evan Porter in the system. Like the entire night had never been recorded. He checked the database backup. Same result. No record of the account. No record of the reservations. Except for one thing. In the machine maintenance log, treadmill number 6 had automatically recorded something. A single entry. Time, 1:17 a.m. Status, emergency stop triggered, which meant someone had hit the red emergency safety clip while running. The clip only activates if someone wearing the safety cord falls off the treadmill. But when we checked the machine that morning, the safety cord was still attached to the console. exactly where it had been the night before. And no one could explain why the treadmill system believed someone had fallen, even though the camera footage showed that no one had been there. Now the overnight staff has a rule. After midnight, they turn treadmill number 6 completely off. Power switch, breaker, everything. But every once in a while, usually sometime between 12:30 and 1:00 a.m., the machine still powers on by itself, and the reservation screen appears again. Just one name, Evan Porter. Even though that account no longer exists,